Welcome to the Boston Barrister, Kevin Patrick Seaver, bringing you insights about your family and the world.
Welcome to the Boston Barrister. My name is Kevin Seaver, located in Boston, Massachusetts. We specialize in family law, including divorce, alimony, child custody, child support, modification, contempts, prenups, postnups, you name it, we do it in family court. The other thing we do is we fight false allegations by the Massachusetts Department of Children and Families against parents, getting DCF out of parents' life once and for all so they can have the benefits of freedom and also richly deserved happiness. This episode is going from riches to rags. In a country that has so much, why do I see so many that have so little? And I hear people complain all the time about this great country. And I just look them right in the kisser and I tell them, if you don't like it, don't let the door hit you on the way out. And I'll slam the door myself because I've had the absolute benefit of being able to go to different foreign countries. And once you've been there, you will never come back to this country and not say it's the greatest thing on the planet. And yeah, do we have our problems? Yes, we do. But they're all fixable in my humble opinion, as long as we all stick together and stay positive. 1976, Steve Jobs, Steve Wozniak, and Ron Wayne in Steve Jobs' garage started Apple Computers. History lessons for anyone that perhaps wasn't alive then or wasn't born yet. But this is great history. Steve Jobs made Apple into the best computer company in the world. And then he got fired. So any of you out there who have been fired before, I know I have, you use that as momentum. And that's what Steve Jobs did. And what did he do from there? He went and developed Pixar. 20 years, Steve Jobs was the CEO from 1986 to 2006 of Pixar. Pixar made some incredible films, starting with Toy Story, A Bug's Life, Toy Story 2, Monsters Incorporated. My personal favorite, Finding Nemo. Can't forget The Incredibles, Cars, and I'm not talking about the band from Boston that started out back in the 70s. Steve Jobs went back to Apple in 1997 as an interim position, and he turned that into being full control very soon after. Steve Jobs had the theme, 1,000 songs in your pocket, because it was portable and it was an iPod. And it was a huge thing that everybody went and got an iPod. Used it at the gym, going for walks, on the beach, you name it, you saw it everywhere. Then in June of 2007, Steve Jobs brought out the iPhone, called the smartphone by Apple. This launched Apple into the stratosphere. August 2nd, 2018, Apple officially became a company that was worth $1 trillion. On October 5th, 2011, Steve Jobs passed on from cancer. He was 56 years old. I can only shake my head at what this person, if he had stayed alive, and of course the old saying is, only the good die young, what he would have done. He developed Apple computers, and he developed the iPhone, and he developed Pixar. I mean, three things that are just amazing, along with the iPod. I mean, who else has done more than that? Perhaps Einstein? But he's up there. I mean, Steve Jobs was just amazing. And he has one of my favorite all-time sayings, keep it simple, easy, and user-friendly. And that's what everything he did was. And that's why Apple caught on, because those that weren't techie, got my hand raised, right? And I'm sure there's a lot of you out there could absolutely model what needed to be done and how to do it with an Apple computer, phone, iPod, and of course watching the great movies from Pixar. The story doesn't end there, because we're going to talk about the first $1 trillion company to exceed Apple. That, of course, is Nvidia, which is now worth an estimated $4 trillion. Nvidia is located in Santa Clara, California. The founder of Nvidia is Jensen Huang, Smelenkowski, Curtis Priam. Those are the co-founders for Nvidia. Best known for the GPUs, which stands for Graphic Processing Unit. It has applications in gaming, professional graphics, AI, artificial intelligence, data centers. Let's just say that artificial intelligence is the future. And Nvidia has their fingerprints all over AI. Some say the bubble is going to bust. Nvidia also has chips that go into self-driving cars. And obviously that's the future. In 2018, Apple was valued as the first company ever to break the $1 trillion mark. 2 years later, in 2020, they were valued at $2 trillion. 2022, Apple was worth $3 trillion. It's crazy money, but it gets even crazier. Nvidia, a company that makes up chips that are used for artificial intelligence, recently was valued at $4 trillion. Can't make this up. Where am I going with this? Here's the point. Our government has been shut down. And I don't want to play politics, nor do I want to talk politics, because I blame both parties. There's no innocence here. This should never have happened, and they both should be ashamed of themselves, in my humble opinion. You can point fingers to a blue in the face. Our elected officials have an obligation to we, the people. But luckily, I will not be affected by this as some other Americans will be. And that's the sad but truth of this matter. Because with the government shut down, federal employees are not working. And that includes air traffic controllers, which is our safety to fly in the skies. It's completely messed up being able to fly or get transported from here, there, or anywhere. What truly worries me is those individuals in our society who depend upon things like SNAP, Supplemental Nutritional Assistance Program. I don't have to participate in that, but my heart goes out to all of those families that are struggling, that are working 2 or 3 jobs, and then you got daycare. Hello, without daycare, these families can't work, and therefore they can't pay taxes. And what do taxes do? They fuel the government. You start to see the irony? I hope so. We also recently had cuts in Medicare, which affects the elderly, which affects others that are disabled or have special needs. And what's crazy about all this is conjecture and speculation, maybe reality, that they're going to get rid of Obamacare. Let's go backwards now. You got no SNAP benefits, you can't eat. If you got no work because you got no daycare that's affordable, you can't put a roof over your head and food on the table. And then if you got no health care, how do you bring your child to the doctor? Where am I going with this now? What's going to happen is families going to fall through the cracks, and they're going to be dependent upon some type of help. And what's going to happen is these families are going to be found to be neglectful for not feeding their children or bring them to the doctor, which is going to wind up with the Massachusetts Department of Children and Families or Child Protective Services in their lives for what's called neglect. But is that really fair? The definition of neglect in Massachusetts, it can't be for economic reasons, but it is. 86% of all the cases of child abuse and neglect is just that, neglect. But are they really? Are they really neglect? Or is it a family that's down on their luck, that's had a hard time, that is unable, for whatever reason, to feed their family, which I think is outrageous in this country, where I see so much, yet I see so many families that have so little. Square that for me. I'm not able to. And I've heard so many people tell me all the time their most important asset is their children. And if that's the case, why are we not investing in our children with the greatest of education? If I look out my windows to the left, it's the Charles River. And across from me on the Charles River in Cambridge is 2 of the greatest learning institutions in the world, Harvard University and Massachusetts Institute of Technology University. There's none finer. There's no better schools in the world than these 2 together. Just a stone's throw away from these 2 schools, whether it's Cambridge or Boston, there's some schools that are just atrociously poor, where children are not learning to read, write, or do arithmetic, the 3 R's. Why is that? But more importantly, why do we tolerate this nonsense? Why are we not investing in educating our children? Because if you look at statistics of those that go to prison, now there's a real fun thought, huh? Most of them is because they're uneducated. They're not being taught. They're not being given the 3 R's. And so now I applaud the governor of Massachusetts. In the legislature, they just passed legislation recently to make the community colleges free. Wonderful. But if Johnny or Joni can't read, write, or do arithmetic, forget the community colleges, because it doesn't matter. They're not going to get in. And if they get in, they can't do the work. Why? Because they don't have a strong foundation. And without the foundation of a house, guess what? It collapses. That's the simple truth, but nobody wants to talk about it. Why is that? If there's a will, there's a way. Everybody will, but not everybody can. Why is that? It's crazy. Everybody wants to be successful, but the tools are there. What you learn and grants you the power to earn. It's that simple. And we come back to all the things. If Johnny's not eating at home, or Joni, because they have no SNAP, and they can't go to the doctor because they're not feeling well, how are we going to educate them? How are we going to help these families? And the Massachusetts Department of Children and Families really is going to take it on the chin, because they're going to be the safety net. But can they do all this that needs to be done to help these families? It's not neglect. Being poor should not be a disgrace. And put the government back to work for the people. Remember, the Constitution reads, "We the people." Don't ever forget that. What is neglect according to the Massachusetts Department of Children and Families? The definition is that it can't be economic in nature. So in other words, you can't be poor and charged with neglect. But it happens all the time. The majority of the families that are going to be missing out on things such as SNAP benefits, which is Supplemental Nutritional Assistance Program, are going to be Black, Hispanic, and other minorities. And so how do we help them climb out of this economic malaise? The government being inoperative. Many states are fighting with the federal government saying, I don't want to pay for SNAP. I don't want to pay for daycare. I don't want to pay for health care. This vicious cycle has to stop. We are all Americans. And how do we do this is the question. And again, what is neglect? Is it really neglect when a family can't feed their children or give them medical care?